Hey guys, welcome back to a new video which is about how to properly request permissions from your users in your app. So in this video we'll see how to properly request those permissions and also what to do when the user declines to give us the permission. So if the user declines 2 times, we can't actually request a permission with that dialog anymore. We have to do something in that case. And actually this applies to whether you're requesting for one permission or multiple permissions. So let's say you are building a camera app where you need the microphone and the camera permissions. So this actually applies to that. And let's get started. Okay, so let's see the app that we are going to build. Here is it. We just have a button and now there is nothing. When we click on this button, we need to request the permissions like this. Here we ask for the camera permission and let's say we allow that. And then we ask for the microphone permission, but then we decline it. We tell the user that the microphone and camera permissions are needed. So you can write whatever you want to write in here. And then when they click on OK, we ask them again. If they decline it again, then we can't ask them anymore. If they accept it, then that's okay. But if they decline it, when they say don't allow, then we can't show them that dialog anymore. What we need to do in this case, take them to the settings. So they can go to the settings and then give us the permission needed. For example, here we don't have the microphone permission. We can then allow it. And then if we go back to the app, if we click on this, now we already have the permission because they give us that permission from the app. But let's say we go to the app settings again and then not notifications, but permissions. And then they don't give us the camera permission anymore. If we go to the app, we click on the button. Now we show them the dialog telling them why we need that permission. And then when we click OK, now we'll show the dialog because they declined the camera permission only once. So when we click on it, we show it again. When they don't allow it, then we can't show that dialog anymore. We need to take them to the settings to give us the permission in there. So let's actually not do that and just restart the app. When we click on it, we can't show the dialog. We can only take them to the settings. So that's what we are going to do. We'll see use cases in which the users declines to give us the permission 2 times, then we need to take them to the settings. And if they actually give us the permission, then that's okay. So you see what I prepared for this video. I have this view model, which is a simple view model in which I have 2 states. One state for am I showing the dialog or not? As you can see, this is the private version and then the public version that I'm going to expose or observe in my screen. And then another one for if I should actually launch the app settings or not. And then 2 functions. One updates the show dialog, so if I want to show it or hide it, I pass the value from my screen. And another one just updates if I should launch the app settings or not. Okay, and then in my activity or in my screen, I just have the dialog that you've seen, which is let's open the app, or probably it's remove a notification app permission so that we can see it. Let's say the microphone don't allow, and then let's open the app. Not this one, but actually this one. So it's just a dialog that is an alert dialog, and in the on dismiss I have an on dismiss lambda. In the on click I have an on confirm OK button, as you can see, and then the title that says whatever I want, and then the text that says whatever I want. So this app needs access to your camera and microphone, and I don't actually use this microphone yet, so we'll actually see how to use it in our screen. Now let's just close everything and let's get started. Here I also have an instance of my view model, and I just collect those 2 states, the show dialog state and launch app settings state, as you can see in my screen. That's it, but I don't have anything. Now let's actually start building the UI first, in which I'm just going to have a box like this. You can also use a column if you want. So a box that takes a modifier dot fill max size, and then content alignment will be alignment dot center. So I would have my button in the center, and then a button that has a text says request permission, and we'll see what to do in this on click. Now let's start step by step, and let's just remove all my apps data to start over. Okay, and open it. So what's the first thing I want to do when I click on the button? Ask for the permission, nothing else. So let's do that. So let's start from where we actually start, from the button. Now let's close this, and then we want to ask for the permissions. So what are the permissions? Let's create a list for those. So private var permissions, this is equal to array. Actually I need an array. Also in my manifest I need those permissions, camera and record audio permissions. These are required in my manifest, and also this hardware that is needed by the camera. And yeah, I don't have anything else, so actually close these, and then let's write manifest from underway.permissions.record audio, and then just applicate this for camera. Let's put the camera to be the first one maybe. So here I have the permissions that I want to request. Now in my button right here, I want to actually get those permissions. So I'm going to write permissions dot for each. So I get all the permissions. Here I get a single permission like this. Now I'm going to check if I already have this permission or not, because if I have it, if it's already granted, then I'm not going to request it. So I'm going to write val is granted is going to be check self permission, passing my permission is equal to package manager dot permission granted. Now here I just check if my permission is granted or not. So if it's granted, then I'm not going to do anything, as we saw when we click on the button and we already have the permission, then we are not going to do anything. You can show a toast telling the user you already have the permission, but it's really not that important. But what I'm interested in is if I don't have the permission. So if it's not granted, is granted is false. Now I want to do something, which is showing the permission dialog, as you can see, but also so let's say don't allow it and don't allow it, and then I again don't allow it, and then I click on let's just go back, and then I click on the button. So now it's not granted, but I click on the button, I can also show this other dialog. So there are two use cases, either showing this dialog that I create by myself, or the under with permission dialog. So let's actually check that. How do we know what dialog to show? By checking if we should show a rational. So if should show request permission rational, this one, and then passing my permission. If this is the case, then I need to show my dialog. Okay, I can't ask for the permission, else I can ask for it. So this function tells me if I can actually ask for the permission or not. If I should show the rational, then I can't ask for the permission. I should show a rational, which is this dialog. If it's false, then I can ask for the permission. Now, to show the dialog, to show this dialog, all I need to use is my view model. Main view model dot update show dialog, set that true because I want to show the dialog. So that's it if I should show a rational. But in case I can't, now how do I show the permission dialog? For that, I will need an activity launcher, and we already have one for compose. We can come right here or probably below the states, and then let's create that. Val permission, or probably permissions because we want multiple permissions. That is going to be result activity launcher is going to be remember launcher for activity result. Here is just delete this, then let's go to a new line. Here I need to pass the contract and then also the on result. This one is going to be a lambda function, and then the contract is going to be whether I want to request for multiple permissions or just one permission. So that is going to be activity result contracts dot request multiple permissions. We can also request one permission, but we usually just ask for multiple permissions like this. Even if I have one permission, then I'm just going to create an array of one permission. So later, if I want to request more than just one permission, I will find it easy just adding this one in here, another permission, then changing a little bit in the text here. Okay, now the on result in here, I get a map. As you can see, map that has a string key and then the value boolean. So let's call it a result, for example. And then in this result, I actually know if the permission that I requested is accepted or declined by the user. So we now need to iterate through all our permissions again, just like we did in here. So let's paste that here again. So here we check all our permissions. And then how do we know if this permission is granted? So it's actually this permission that we have in here because we are using this array. How do we know if it's granted? By checking if result, and then the key in this case is my permission is equal to false, then it's not granted. Again, if it's granted, then I don't care. If it's not granted, I want to do something. Now, before actually writing anything in here, let's go back in here. As we said, we have two cases which are either showing our dialog in here if we should show a rational, otherwise we can just show the permission dialog. So let's actually show the permission dialog by launching this activity. So it's like an activity that gives us a result, which is that dialog. So permissions result launcher dot launch for our permission that we have in here, as you can see. Now we launch a dialog for every permission, as we saw in the app for the camera one and then the microphone one. Now, so we launch it. So we're okay with the button, we're done, whether we want to launch our dialog or launch this permission. But now here, when we know that the permission is declined by the user, what should we do? Of course, if it's not declined, so if this was true, then we don't really care. It's accepted. What we care about is if it's declined, what should we do? In this case, we want to check again if we should show original. But now it's the opposite, if we should not show the original. So what's going on here is that if this is false, the permission is declined by the user. This means we can't show the dialog that is just giving us permission, but actually what we are going to do is showing this dialog, but also take them to the settings, because now we can't show the dialog. In this case, as you can see here, we were able to show the dialog because otherwise we can just show this original. Okay, so in this case, we need to show the dialog or original again, but also launch the settings. So we're going to use our view model, main view model dot update launcher app settings is going to be true. So we need to launch the settings after we show the original, but now we want to show the original as well. So we use our main view model dot update show dialog, set that to true. But in case this was true, so this was true, I'm just going to do the same as I did in here, showing the dialog. As you can see, just showing the dialog. But if it's false, then I need to launch the settings. So how do we now launch the settings? That is going to be handled by the Lambda function that I trigger when I click on the confirm button in my dialog right here. Okay, now we don't use the dialog yet. So let's go outside of our box like this, and then we just check if we should show the dialog. Then technically you want to show the dialog. Okay, so here we get the on dismiss. Let me just delete this and then go to a new line. We get the on dismiss and then also the on confirm, which is another Lambda function. In the on dismiss, I just want to dismiss my dialog by using my main view model dot update show dialog to false, so my dialog is not there anymore. In the on confirm, then that's going to be the same. I want to dismiss the dialog. But what should I do right now? If I should launch the app settings, so if this was true, actually if this was false, I can't show the original, so that means I need to launch the app settings. Then that's exactly what I'm going to do. So right here, if launch app settings, then I'm going to launch the app settings. Else, then I'm going to launch this dialog right here. So as you can see, I just launched my dialog, and this one tells me if I should go to the settings, because if this was false, then that means the user declined to give me the permission for 2 times. So it just means I requested first time, they declined it or they didn't allow it. I requested the second time, they didn't allow it. So I can't show this one anymore, which is just launching the permission dialog to get that permission dialog. Instead, I can show the original, but launch the app settings to give me the permission from the app settings. Okay, now this one, there is a typo here. So in this case, if I shouldn't show the app settings, then I'm just going to launch my activity results, permissions, results, activity launcher, pass in my permissions like this. And in this case, I'm going to launch my settings. So that's going to be intent. And to launch the settings, I'm going to call settings dot action application details settings. And then I need to pass a URE. So URE dot from parts. So here I need to write package and then pass in my package name, and then fragment is going to be null. Dot also start activity passing it, which is my intent. As I said, when we know that we are launching our app settings, then we can update our view model, main view model dot update launch app settings to false, because now we already launched it. Okay, we can also have it at the bottom here. Okay, so let's go through this again. What's going on in here is that we click on the button. If the permission or one of the permission is declined or is not granted, then we want to do something. If it was granted, if one of them is granted, then we don't care. Now it's the first time, so I don't have any permission. I check if I should show original, which is a dialog like this that tells the user why I need that permission. So I check for that. And I find out that this is false. I shouldn't show it because it's just the first time. So I immediately launch an activity result that will show me the permission dialog. So I launch that. And then right here, I get a result, which is whether the permission that I launched this activity result for, or the permissions that I launched this activity result for, because here we have multiple permissions, are granted or not. And I get a list of permissions, as you can see, the ones that I launched this for, and I check if they are granted or not. So let's go to the first one, which is the camera one, and also this applies to the microphone one. And as I said, I only care if it's not granted. If it's granted, then that's good. If it's not granted, I need to do something. So it's not granted. I check if I should not show the rationale. And in this case, this means the user declined the permission for 2 times, so I can't request for that permission, that particular permission anymore. Instead, I need to launch the app settings. I need to take them to the settings to give me the permission from there. If that's true, then that's it. I don't have to take them to the app settings. They can give me the permission with this activity result launcher. So I check for that whether I should take them to the settings or not, and then I just launch my dialog after the result. Of course, all of this is happening when the permission is not allowed, not if it's allowed. Okay, so I show my dialog, I update my view model, and then here the show dialog is set to true, so I show the dialog. If it's dismissed, then I dismiss it. When we click on the confirm button, then we again dismiss the dialog, but then we check if we should launch the app settings, which was something that is updated right here, and we already know why by this moment. So if we should launch the app settings, then I'm launching the app settings and I'm telling my view model that the app settings are already launched, and that is false. So next time I don't have to launch it if I don't have to. Otherwise, I just launch my activity result launcher, and then it just goes on until completely the user declines to give any permission. Then I can only take them to the settings like this, or they gave one permission and the other one not. So I just show the dialog for the permission I can show it for, and launch the settings for the permission I can't request anymore. Okay, so now we understand what's going on here. Now, let's just uninstall our app. Yep, let's just uninstall it and then run the app. And let's see what's going to happen. Okay, here is the app, and then we click on the button. We'll find that both our permissions are not granted, so we also don't have to show the rationale. We'll just launch our activity result launcher. Okay, click on it. Here is my activity result launcher showing me the dialog. Let's say I don't allow this one, and then I just allow this one. What just happened here is that in the on result, one of them was not granted, which is maybe the first one or the second one, I don't remember. Maybe the microphone one was not granted. So when we iterated through our list, we found that the microphone permission wasn't granted. So in this case, I just check if I can show a rationale. And actually I can show it because user declined the permission only once. So I don't have to launch the app settings. So I just show the dialog telling them that I need that permission. Okay, here is the dialog launched. Now what's going to happen is we're not trying to launch the app settings, but just launching the activity result for the permission that is not allowed yet, which is the microphone. We click on OK. We request maybe the camera, or yeah, the camera one, not the microphone one. We request the camera permission, as you can see. So right now we are right here. Let's say we decline it a second time. Now, if we allow it, then what is that? This entire thing won't actually fire off because the permission is allowed. But let's decline it. Now, what happened is that should we show a rationale? Well, we can't show it anymore. So this means we need to launch the app settings. So we set this launch app settings to true, and then we launched our dialog. So we come here. Now when we click on OK, we will launch the app setting, but package actually is written wrong, which means I don't know if it's going to actually launch the app settings. Anyway, when we click on OK now, we'll find out we can actually, or we need to launch the app settings, and we can't launch our activity result launcher. And then after that, we just tell it we don't have to launch the app settings anymore. So let's click on OK. I don't know if it's going to launch because I made a typo in package, but yes, it did launch, as you can see. And then let's say I don't do anything. I just go back here. Now we'll click on the button again, and then we'll check if we should show a rationale, and that is actually false. We can't show a rationale, and we can only launch this activity result launcher. So this will launch my activity result launcher, and then we'll find out that one or two of our permissions, maybe only one, is actually declined, And in that case, we can't show the ratio now, so we'll tell it to launch the app settings and then show the dialog right here. And then, so let's do that. That's it, it shows the dialog. And then it just says, should we launch the app settings? Yes, we should. So we launch the app settings. If we give it the missing permission, which is the camera permission, then we go back. When we click on the button, nothing will happen because the permission is already granted and we don't have to check, or we don't have to fire this off because the permission is already granted. And that's how you properly request permissions from the user. So in this case, you handle when they refuse to give you the permission for 2 times. You actually tell them with a dialog why do you need that. So you show them a dialog that you need those permissions for what reason, and then if they actually don't allow that for 2 times, you take them to the settings. And if I have more than 1 permission, then I just actually show a text that tells them I need camera and microphone permission. And we usually just ask for 2 permissions at most for a screen, or just 1. Maybe you don't have to ask for 3 or 4 permissions in one screen. You want to ask for the permissions that you need for that particular feature in that particular screen. In this case, suppose we have a camera view, we need the microphone, and then we need the camera. Maybe if we want to save the image and let's say we are in an older Android version where we don't have media store, then maybe we also would want to ask for the storage permissions. So you can just ask camera and microphone and storage, for example. We can remove this end, are needed for this app, and then you explain here we need the camera to show you, the microphone to record your audio, the storage to save the video. So that's how I would do it. And yes, that's how you properly request permissions from your Android app user. If you find my videos helpful, then subscribe and leave a like to this video to support the future of this channel. See you in the next video, and bye.